Jill Branch, and I am going to be discussing today the topic of the challenging of securing our land borders, as well as the importance that government and private interests play in keeping our land borders and our country secure. The first point to talk about is the challenges of securing the land borders. The biggest issue just first becomes the size of the nation that we need to secure. The border to the north of us with Canada is approximately 2,000 miles, and the border to the south with Mexico is also the same. Large portions of both of those borders are not regulated and are not under security cameras or security measures. We need to be able to participate with multiple different stakeholders, including our government, allied governments, trading partners, and the civilian and private sector as well. It's going to take all of that to keep everything secure. The challenge also is the cost of security for our borders. Very expensive, and again, with part of it being private and part of it being the government, who is going to bear that burden? The next point is the expediency for trade purposes. We cannot secure the borders so tight that no one can get across in any sort of expedient manner. And lastly, the technology challenge. There are new technologies emerging, but some of them are very expensive. They need to be tested, and they're not always reliable. The next point is security measures. There are some currently in place. One is the Smart Border Initiatives. The second is the Agency of Customs and Border Protection. Their main purpose is securing the goods that come in and across our borders. They have also initiated the Container Security Initiative, which is pushing our security out to inspecting cargo containers and all the goods that are coming into our country prior to them even getting to our ports and our airports. We have the Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, known as CTPAT, and we also have the Nexus program, which is between us, the United States, and the Government of Canada in getting people and goods across the border more quickly. Road and rail-based transportation is another concern, but there are some security measures in place there. We have the Trucking Security Program, which allows truck drivers and trucking companies to do pre-background checks and things prior to getting to the border stations so that it can make their time across the border a lot more quickly. We have the Information Sharing and Analysis Center. The security at transfer points does become a challenge, however, at borders, ports, airports. We have security at access points for critical infrastructure. Again, our critical infrastructures in this country require higher levels of security. And then the human element, training of law enforcement, toll takers, roadside workers, truck drivers. The country after 9/11 instituted the See Something, Say Something, and that campaign is also part of that. The next is the securing for rail transit and transportation. One of the biggest security threats there is the human element, but that also can be one of our biggest security measures. Again, the same thing, people getting involved in the security. CCTV, which is closed circuit television, that has to do with monitoring. You can do it both at the areas where passengers and cargo are being loaded and unloaded, as well as within the trains or the cargo containers that are moving on the rails. Law enforcement plays a role there, as well as the training of the line staff. Employee background checks become critical. Anybody who has access to these containers and the railways have to be screened and vetted. That's very important. And then last but not least, when all of this cargo is stationary, there needs to be good security, good lighting, good measures in protecting that against tampering, terrorism, and theft. So you can see that we do have a lot of measures in place since 9/11 and a lot of things that are working in conjunction with other nations and the civilian and private sector, but we do still have a long way to go to make sure we have secure transportation.